Quick note before the video starts. I'm now offering to make one video each month based on a viewer's idea. Just support me on Tipeee and leave your topic suggestion in the comments there. Link in the description. The chosen idea will come from the top supporter or the one that best fits the channel. You can join in anytime, and your support helps me upgrade my gear and work on a big speculative evolution project. Thanks a ton.
The Rio Neuquen Subgroup is a geological formation located in the Neuquén Basin of west-central Argentina, primarily within the provinces of Neuquén, Mendoza and Rio Negro. It represents a richly fossiliferous interval of time and preserves a diverse array of sedimentary environments. The climate during its deposition was generally warm and semi-arid, characterized by seasonal rainfall and periodic droughts. Ecosystems within the subgroup included wide floodplains, braided river systems and scattered woodlands, supporting a range of flora such as conifers and ferns. These dynamic habitats hosted a variety of prehistoric life, including large herbivorous and some carnivorous dinosaurs. Rinconsaurus, like all sauropods, was an herbivore. Fossilized dung associated with late Cretaceous titanosaurids has revealed phytoliths, silicified plant fragments, that offer clues to a broad, unselective plant diet. Besides the plant remains that might have been expected, such as cycads and conifers, discoveries published in 2005 revealed an unexpectedly wide range of monocotyledons, including palms and grasses, including ancestors of rice and bamboo, which has given rise to speculation that herbivorous dinosaurs and grasses co-evolved. Antarctosaurus, despite its name, did not live in Antarctica but in Argentina. The name means southern lizard due to its discovery on a southern continent. The genus is poorly known because it is based on very incomplete fossil material, making its classification uncertain. Only the type species, Antarctosaurus wichmannianus, is universally accepted as valid. Other species, like Antarctosaurus giganteus, are considered nomina dubia due to fragmentary remains that are difficult to compare. Former species from India and Kazakhstan have been reclassified or are now considered unlikely to belong to Antarctosaurus. This is partly because South America was likely isolated from other continents during the late Cretaceous. The size of Antarctosaurus is uncertain, with the type species estimated to be up to 18 meters long. If A. giganteus is valid, it could have reached up to 30 meters, possibly rivaling Argentinosaurus, but this remains speculative due to classification doubts. Megaraptor made headlines at the time of its discovery because of the large 30-centimeter-long claw that at the time was thought to be the sickle-shaped claw that belonged on the second toe of a dromaeosaurid dinosaur like Velociraptor, but much bigger. However, the discovery of a complete forelimb revealed this reconstruction to be a gross error in that the large claws actually belonged on the hands and not the feet. Afterwards, Megaraptor was thought to have been a spinosaurid as the large claws were similar to members of this group such as Baryonyx. However, it was new dinosaur discoveries in other parts of the world like Australia that led to the realization that Megaraptor actually belonged to a specialized group of allosaurids, today known as the Megaraptora, a group named after the Megaraptor genus. The large claws on the hands of these generally lightly built theropods may have been additional weapons for attacking prey or even feeding aids to more easily tear up carcasses. Although only known from partial remains, Patagonykus is confirmed to have been an Alvarezsaurus, small bipedal dinosaurs that are thought to have specialized in hunting insects. Dinosaurs like Patagonykus were once thought to have been restricted to the lower stages of the Upper Cretaceous. However, the discovery of Bonitasaurus in 2012 has revealed these forms of Alvarezsaurus survived in South America until the last stages of the Cretaceous. Initially thought to be a juvenile Megaraptor, Unenlagia was found to not only be a separate species but one that would challenge the notions for the origins of flight. It fits into the Unenlagia group, which is also considered by some to be the rightful home of the Dromaeosaur rahanavis. If correct, that would mean that Unenlagia either lost the ability of flight after evolving from flying ancestors, or that rahanavis had evolved flight from others independent from the accepted Archaeopteryx lineage. It is considered to be too large for flight itself, and the wings, while having a high degree of motion, are thought to not being able to being raised above the spine. One consideration is that the wings were held out and used as stabilizers while chasing prey. The Bajo de la Carpa Formation was a late Cretaceous geological unit also located in what is now northern Patagonia. It represents an arid to semi-arid environment, with a hot, dry climate that was occasionally punctuated by brief wet periods. The landscape was dominated by sandy plains, ephemeral river systems and low-lying floodplains, shaping a relatively open and sparsely vegetated biome. Vegetation likely consisted of drought-resistant plants, including early flowering species, conifers and ferns growing near water sources. These ecosystems supported a variety of life forms, many of which were adapted to dry and fluctuating environments. The formation is particularly known for preserving fossils in well-defined sandstone and siltstone layers, suggesting episodic flooding and sedimentation. Despite its dryness, the region likely experienced bursts of ecological activity during wetter phases, allowing complex food webs to develop. Some aquatic species have been found, such as fish and aquatic turtles. New research published in Science Advances suggests that snakes lost their limbs not to adapt to aquatic life, but due to their burrowing ancestry. Scientists used CT scans to analyze the inner ear of Dinilysia and found structures consistent with modern burrowing snakes. The shape of the inner ear appears to be a reliable indicator of a burrowing lifestyle, unlike external anatomical features that rarely fossilize. The study indicates that early crowned snakes were likely specialized for burrowing and used low-frequency hearing to detect vibrations from prey or predators. Dinilysia is now considered the largest burrowing snake ever discovered. Small nests with eggs inside, found in this formation, probably belonged to the bird Neuquenornis. Fossil wasp nests have also been found in these rocks. Crocodiles are highly adaptable animals and are common in most geological formations of South America. Lomasuchus had a deep, narrow snout characteristic of parasaurids. The serrated teeth were compressed, although not to the extent seen in other related genera such as Parasaurus. Many similarities can be seen between its morphology and that of the related Overosaurus, such as the narrow snout and a groove at the maxilla-premaxilla contact that accommodated for an enlarged fourth mandibular tooth. Notosuchus was first named in 1896 and is one of the earliest described Notosuchian crocodiles. It was relatively small, reaching about 1.5 meters in length, yet larger than most of its close relatives. Unlike modern crocodiles, Notosuchus was primarily terrestrial, spending most of its time on land rather than in water. 2 species of Notosuchus have been discovered within the formation here. A remarkable discovery revealed a well-preserved skull, offering new insights into its anatomy. The skull lacked a bony nasal septum and likely supported a short, muscular trunk. Its lower jaw also suggested the presence of fleshy lips and possibly cheeks to aid in food handling. These features imply that Notosuchus may have foraged much like a wild pig, sniffing through vegetation to locate hidden food. Mahuidacursor is a newly described medium-sized, gracile ornithopod from the formation. Its holotype consists of an articulated partial skeleton, including vertebrae, the pectoral girdle, and the right forelimb. Histological analysis indicates it was a sexually mature but not fully grown individual. Mahuidacursor shares several anatomical traits with other South American basal ornithopods, such as a bowed humerus and reduced deltopectoral crest. Phylogenetic analysis places it among basal ornithopods, closely related to Notohypsilophodon and the Elasmaria clade. Bonitasaura was a relatively small titanosaur with a stocky build and a notably short neck compared to other members of its group. The holotype represents a subadult individual, suggesting that while it may have grown slightly larger, it likely did not exceed 10 meters in length. Its dorsal vertebrae had tall, robust neural spines, indicating strong neck muscles that may have aided in high browsing. Uniquely, Bonitasaura's lower jaw resembled that of diplodocids, featuring small rear teeth and a keratin-covered ridge at the front, likely forming a beak. This adaptation allowed it to bite and hold plant material with its teeth, then use the beak to shear it off. Overosaurus was described in 2013 by a team of paleontologists including Rudolf and colleagues. It is known solely from the holotype specimen, which includes a nearly complete and fully articulated vertebral column. The preserved vertebrae span from the 10th cervical to the 20th caudal, along with associated ribs and parts of the pelvis. The sacrum of Overosaurus is composed of 6 fused sacral vertebrae. This well-preserved skeleton provides significant anatomical details, especially of the axial skeleton. Inawentu is a newly discovered titanosaur that lived around 86 million years ago. It was part of a diverse group of sauropods known for their long necks, large size and wide stance, though some species were much smaller. The remains were partially complete and discovered in river-associated mudstone layers. It had a square-shaped jaw and a relatively short neck, features that resemble those of rebecasaurid sauropods. These traits suggest it was adapted for low browsing, feeding close to the ground. The shortened neck and broad snout imply a specialized diet and possible ecological niche. This discovery adds to evidence of a faunal turnover in South America after the Turonian stage. Inawentu belongs to a unique clade of square-jawed titanosaurs restricted to the latest Cretaceous in South America. Traukutitan is a genus of titanosaurian dinosaur that was named after Trauku, an Araucanian mountain spirit. The species name Eocaudata is a reference to the primitive-appearing form of the caudal vertebrae. There is speculation that Traukutitan was a Loggenkasaurian titanosaur, and this might fit given that Loggenkasaurians are well known from South America during the Santonian stage of the Cretaceous. Viavenator possessed a similar brain morphology to Achillesaurus, another South American abelisaurid, and had a similar inner ear. Compared to the Madagascan abelisaurid Majungasaurus, Viavenator was more reliant on quick movements of the head and sophisticated gaze stabilization mechanisms. However, both genera had a similar range of hearing according to the examinations and subsequent CT scans of the cranium. Llukalkan is a small abelosaurid with an estimated body length of 4 meters. It is very similar to Viavenator, except that it is smaller and the holes in the skull through which the veins pass are larger and more widely separated from the supraoccipital crest, among other differences. It also has a small posterior air-filled sinus in the middle ear zone, a recessus tympanicus caudalis, that has not been found in any other abelosaurids and thus is an autapomorphy. On account of its unusual ear, it has been theorized that it had a keener sense of hearing than other abelosaurids, almost like a crocodile's. Tratayenia is a newly described megaraptorid dinosaur that lived around 85 million years ago, making it possibly the youngest known member of its group. This predator helps fill gaps in the understanding of the mysterious Megaraptoridae, a group of large carnivorous dinosaurs from South America and Australia. It is the first megaraptorid to preserve a complete series of hip vertebrae, offering new anatomical insights. It had a long, low skull with sharp serrated teeth, bird-like air-filled bones, and massive forelimbs ending in deadly claws. These claws, over a foot long, were likely used to grasp and subdue prey. Tratayenia grew to over 9 meters in length and was one of the top predators in its ecosystem. Velocisaurus was probably around 1.5 meters long, based on a tibia length of 14 centimeters. This makes it the smallest nosaurid. The foot is unique in that the middle metatarsal has become the main weight-bearing element. Its upper end has thickened whereas the shafts of the adjoining second and fourth metatarsals have thinned considerably. In a 2001 study conducted by Bruce Rothschild and other paleontologists, 12-foot bones referred to Velocisaurus were examined for signs of stress fracture, but none were found. Achillesaurus has been identified as a basal Alvarezsaurus, but there is now some question to its validity. It was thought to have lived alongside the type genus of the Alvarezsauridae, Alvarezsaurus. A 2012 study by Makovicky et al. However has raised the notion that Achillesaurus and Alvarezsaurus may in fact be one and the same dinosaur. If so, then Achillesaurus would become a synonym of Alvarezsaurus. Alvarezsaurus was the first dinosaur discovered from a group now known as Alvarezsaurs, named after it. Despite being the type genus, it remains one of the least complete and most poorly understood members of the group. It was named in honor of historian Don Gregorio Alvarez, not physicist Luis Alvarez, who was linked to the meteor extinction theory. It measured around 2 meters in length, making it relatively large for an Alvarezsaur. It had a primitive body structure compared to later members of its clade. Like its relatives, it possessed an enlarged finger tipped with a large claw. While some believe this claw was used to puncture termite mounds, current models provide limited support for that idea, and its exact function remains uncertain. Diuqin was a small theropod dinosaur belonging to the Unenlagian subfamily of dromaeosaurids. This species is significant for filling a 15 million year gap in the fossil record of Unenlagians. The fossil includes a fragmentary but associated postcranial skeleton with unique anatomical features distinguishing it from other Unenlagians. These include distinct vertebral and humeral traits that show intermediate characteristics between known taxa like Unenlagia and Austroraptor. The species also provides further insight into the early evolution of paravian theropods and their relationship to birds. Bite marks on the fossil suggest scavenging by another predator, possibly a Megaraptorid or even another Unenlagian. Patagopteryx was one of the earliest known examples of a secondarily flightless bird. It was about the size of a modern chicken. Initially mistaken for a ratite, it was later identified as an early ornithuromorph, distantly related to modern birds. Its anatomy, including small wings, the absence of a keel, and lack of a wishbone, indicates it was incapable of flight. Instead, it had long legs and feet adapted for walking, not running. Bone growth rings suggest it had a slow growth rate, taking several years to mature. Patagopteryx highlights how flightlessness evolved multiple times in bird history. The Anacleto Formation, part of the Neuquen Group in northern Patagonia, represents a late Cretaceous landscape dating to approximately 83 to 80 million years ago. This geological formation preserves evidence of a dynamic terrestrial ecosystem characterized by broad floodplains, meandering rivers, and ephemeral lakes. The climate during this period was semi-arid but may have been slightly more humid than in earlier formations like the Bajo de la Carpa. Sedimentary deposits such as fine sandstones, mudstones, and paleosols indicate periods of both active sedimentation and soil development, supporting a variety of plant life and offering suitable conditions for nesting animals. As in most ecosystems with rivers and lakes, a few amphibious turtles and crocodiles have been found. Gasparinisaura was a small, bipedal herbivorous dinosaur estimated to be 1.7 meters long and weigh around 13 kilograms. It had a rounded but elongated skull with large, high-set eye sockets and a pendant back of the head. Its jaws contained about 12 large teeth in each upper and lower jaw, and the jaw joints were set low. The limbs were built for agility, with lightly constructed forelimbs and long, powerful hind limbs. Its tail had unique triangular chevrons that expanded toward the back, a trait not seen in other euornithopods. Gasparinisaura's foot had a reduced first metatarsal, a feature considered evolutionarily advanced. Clusters of up to 140 polished gastroliths were found in its abdomen, likely used to aid in digestion. These stones made up about 0.3% of its body weight, enough to function effectively as a gastric mill. Nests of dinosaur eggs, many with preserved embryos inside, have been discovered in large quantities at the famous Mahuidacursor locality, and have been attributed to titanosaurs. The abundance of sauropods in Argentine geological formations is due to a combination of favorable environmental, geological and evolutionary factors. These ecosystems could support their massive sizes thanks to a rich supply of low-growing plants and cyclical water sources. Additionally, sedimentary conditions in formations favored the preservation of large bones, increasing the likelihood of fossilization. From an evolutionary standpoint, South America was isolated at the time, allowing unique lineages of titanosaurs to diversify and dominate the region. Furthermore, the relative geographic isolation of Patagonia allowed local sauropod species to evolve unique traits, leading to high diversity and endemism. The Anacleto Formation is notable for preserving both juvenile and adult individuals, suggesting it may have included nesting or nursery grounds. Traukutitan was a small, gracile titanosaur belonging to the Rinconsaurian group of dinosaurs. Rinconsaurians were lightly built, under 11 meters long, with straight limbs and a modified pelvic structure. It likely measured around 7 meters in length and had a distinctive body shape with a brachiosaur-like posture and slender limbs. No osteoderms were found with Traukutitan, supporting the idea that these titanosaurs may have lacked body armor. Its fossils were discovered in the Anacleto Formation along with a rich assemblage of other vertebrate and invertebrate remains. The overwhelming dominance of turtle fossils, over 90% of the assemblage, contrasts strongly with coeval North American and European sites. This suggests that Patagonian late Cretaceous ecosystems were ecologically distinct and uniquely shaped by continental drift. Laplatosaurus was formally described in 1929 by Friedrich von Huene, based on fragmentary fossils from the Anacleto Formation in Argentina. The genus represents a large but slender titanosaur, potentially around 18 meters long and possibly similar to Saltosaurus, though its association with osteoderms remains uncertain. A megalolithus egg previously attributed to Titanosaurus may actually belong to Laplatosaurus, suggesting it may have nested in the same region. Despite early confusion in classification, it has become a recognized genus among South American titanosaurs. Alvarezsaurus is known only from its skull, which makes estimating its full body size challenging. Different studies have estimated its length to range from 7 to 11 meters and its weight between 1.65 and 3 tons. The skull itself is about 85 centimeters long, relatively deep, and broad at the back. Unlike some of its relatives, it lacked bony crests or horns, but it had rough ridges that may have supported keratin-based structures. The skull features large fenestrae that helped reduce weight, including a prominent triangular antorbital fenestra and a high, constricted eye socket. The thickened skull roof suggests it may have been used in display or combat. Its broad skull led early paleontologists to compare it with tyrannosaurids. The position of the eye above the constricted socket indicates a complex skull architecture. The large triangular infratemporal fenestra shows the skull was inclined forward. Due to its size and skull features, Alvarezsaurus was likely one of the top predators in its ecosystem. Achillesaurus is known from the most complete abalisaurid skeleton ever found, missing only the tip of its tail. This specimen has helped paleontologists better understand typical abalisaurid features, such as their extremely reduced arms. Its skull shows signs of injury likely caused by another dinosaur, suggesting a violent encounter rather than scavenging. Possible causes include territorial conflict, a fight over food, or even cannibalism, as seen in related species like Majungasaurus. The skull injury likely caused the dinosaur's death, and the body ended up in a lake, explaining the exceptional preservation. Submersion in lake sediment protected the remains from scavengers, keeping the skeleton nearly intact. Some bones of Erosteans show pneumatization, including air-filled spaces in the furcula, ilium, and gastralia. This feature represents an evolutionary step toward the avian air sac system found in modern birds. These air sacs likely functioned as bellows to move air through rigid lungs, improving respiratory efficiency. Researchers believe this system may have originally evolved for thermoregulation and was later adapted for breathing.